Good morning. Welcome into the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 1059 The Zone. The show is powered by the Golden Moon Casino, Sportsbook and Lounge, the Timeout Lounge, full bar, food, great place to watch the games and put a little money on it. Bet $50 at the Sportsbook, play award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club for $30. We welcome in Shawne Merriman, unbelievable player in the NFL, Rookie of the Year, All-Pro, Pro Bowler, and he played for the San Diego Chargers. And when I was growing up in the 80s, before Shawne played there, I saw a game with the Chargers and the Dolphins as a kid. I was like 10 years old. And it was Eric Coryell, Dan Fouts, and Kellen Winslow Sr., and I fell in love with the Chargers. So it's pretty cool that we've got Shawne Merriman on the show, and he joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Shawne, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Doing well. Shawne also founded Lights Out Extreme Fighting, mixed martial arts company. So walk me through where you were when you were drafted in the first round by the San Diego Chargers.
I actually I stayed home. Now, I got an invite to come to New York, but I've seen in the past when, guys are expected to go somewhere in the top 10, top 15 and slip to the late first round, early second, and the camera sitting there in your face the whole time. So I elected to stay home. My friends, family, coaches, just people around where I was in the comfort, and it was a pretty cool moment. And I don't know if you guys remember, that was back in the day when the first 10 to 15 picks took like 6 hours, right? I mean, it was a whole day, but it was a great moment.
All right, so you played at Maryland, and you decided to stay at home, and then boom, I guess they take you're on a plane and you're out there in like 24 hours, right?
Yeah. After the call, I remember just hanging out with my family, and I couldn't drink yet because I was still 20 at the time, so I couldn't celebrate like they were. But I remember getting on the plane overnight, and the cool thing about it is I took a visit to San Diego, right? So I'd never been to the West Coast before, so I took my pre-draft visit. I remember coming in and seeing the water and seeing the ocean and palm trees. And let me tell you, they didn't have that any of that in Washington, D.C. and Maryland when I was so seeing that for the first time. It was somewhere that I wanted to get drafted, man, and they had a great year before us. So it was perfect timing.
All-Pro, Pro Bowler with the Chargers. He is Shawne Merriman on the Out of Bounds Show and the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Hell of a football player. It's you were used to, certain times a year, pretty rough weather up there in the Mid-Atlantic. And then, you played all over the place around Maryland. I bet you had to love that 80-degree weather and no humidity pretty much year-round, didn't you?
It almost seemed unreal, going out there. And I think the only time I seen palm trees before that was on TV, right? So looking up and it's 70-something degrees outside. You don't have to worry about it getting too hot. I can tell you those brutal summers and training camps on the East Coast, man, and, down in the South and Midwest, it is scorching hot. And to get out there and not experience that, man, I still say, and I'll argue with anybody, that San Diego is one of the best cities, if not the best city in the country.
Do you still live out there?
No, I'm Vegas and LA. I still spend a lot of time, working with the Chargers. Obviously, that's always going to be my guys, and working and doing some of the post game stuff. But Vegas, man, obviously I'm in the fight business now, so Vegas is my new home.
Wow, we were out there last year for the NFL draft, and I've been out there several times, but that play. 600,000 people were there over the weekend, Shawne, for the NFL draft 2 years ago. It was absolutely wild. Were you out there during that time?
Yeah, I was here. And, Vegas has become, over the last, several years or so, it's become more the entertainment capital of the world, in my opinion, where you got more and more sports teams coming here. Obviously, the Raiders moved here. The A's are coming. They got a basketball team that's on the way. So a lot of fighting over the last, few decades or so. So it's become a great city, a melting pot from everybody really all over the world, man. It's only getting bigger.
I want to get into your business and the mixed martial arts and other things. But before we do that, So I grew up around here, right here in the Southeastern Conference, Jackson, Mississippi. We're less than 3 hours away from New Orleans. Had family down there. Went down to New Orleans as a kid in the 80s, and all they did was lose, Shawne. And my aunt had season tickets. Got to the point where I'd actually tell her no. Didn't even want to go to the games. They were so damn bad. And so fast forward to 2005, as you know what happened. Your former teammate, Drew Brees, goes to New Orleans and just takes the franchise to another level. When you were at the Chargers and you were the key piece in that defense, what was it like? What was Drew Brees like as a teammate, Shawne?
He was incredible, man. I was really fortunate to get a chance to come in and see that. I don't think I've seen anybody more focused and lasered in on their goal and things they wanted to get done than Drew Brees. His leadership. And, you hear about these guys getting drafted to bad teams, bad organizations, and you walk into a losing locker room, losing attitudes, man. And I got the completely opposite of that. It had been tough. And I was about 20 or 30 feet away when Drew hurt his shoulder. And I spent a lot of time during the offseason working with him and Todd Durkin and, Darren Sproles. We all had the same offseason coach. And I tell you, man, what Drew Brees did and coming back from that injury, because I've seen it firsthand, I've never seen before in my life, and I don't think anybody could have bet any amount of money that he would have come back and done what he did. But that's just him, and that's why I was so fortunate, man, to just play with him and get a chance to work out with him and see his work ethic. And you're around it, man. As a young guy coming in, it just shows you a different level of work.
Wow, he did such a great job in New Orleans. They had training camp up here in Jackson a couple of times, Shawne, and being in the media, we were allowed to be around him. Just he was starting to become a star, but just a regular dude, but super focused, as you well know. I think that was part of his military background and his family. Dude was locked in. Shawne Merriman, All-Pro, Pro Bowler, now in the fight game, mixed martial arts. He's got his company, Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. We'll talk about that here in just a second. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. One more guy I got to ask you about. You just dropped his name, and I have loved him for years, out of Kansas State. What was it like to play with Darren Sproles?
It was incredible. We actually signed with the same agent coming out of college, Gary Wishart, and we all kind of stayed together in the same complex, had the same trainers. And you watch him on TV, right? You know, everybody talk about his size and all that, man. But when you get around him and you see his work ethic and see what he does to prepare himself, you said, man, you've never seen anything like that before in your life. And I'll give you a funny story, and I'll tell this while everybody's listening. We were working out one off season leading up to the draft. And we was at the Gold's Gym in Los Angeles, right there, the big Gold's Gym. Everybody know the world famous Gold's Gym, and in L.A. And I got sick, and I didn't know how strong Darren Sproles was. I had no idea, and I knew he was strong, but I didn't know how strong. So he wanted to compete with me in the gym one day, and I said, Sproles, I just got off the flu. I don't feel as strong, right? So anyway, we put 365 on the bench, and I just threw it up 5 times, thinking that there's no way he's going to lift 365 more than 5 times. And he did it 7. And still to this day, he would not let it go. He will bring it up. We talk every week, and he will not let it go that he lifts me. And I've never let it go that I had the flu. And I told him no. I just didn't think that he would do 7. So that just gives you an idea of him, man. And for somebody that's come from his background, his off the field stuff, and his learning curve, and everything about him, man, just as a testament to the time he put in, man, to being great. And I believe this. I truthfully believe this. I think that he deserves to be mentioned up there in the Hall of Fame at some point for what he did on special teams as a running back, all purpose. There's very few players that's ever come across in the NFL like Darren Sproles. Man, that's so good. He was so much fun to watch. You're listening to the Out of Bounds Show. We're visiting with Shawne Merriman, All-Pro, Pro Bowler, now owns his own business, entrepreneur, Las Vegas, L.A., joining us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. All right, one more. Lights Out, that's your nickname. Where did the sack celebration dance come from, Shawne? So my sophomore year in high school, I knocked out 4 kids in one game, right? I had about 20 or 25 students come run up to me and they said, man, you knocked those guys' lights out. And I said, you know what? Yeah, call me lights out. So Monday, this is pre-social media, pre-YouTube and all this stuff. Monday I came in school and everybody's calling me lights. So it kind of spread around pretty quick. I went home and I begged my mom to let me get a lights out tattoo. She told me, no, boy, get the hell out the room. I bothered her for about two more weeks. She finally let me get the lights out switch with the hand turning the lights out on my right forearm. And so whenever I got a big play or a sack or anything, a big hit, I jumped up and down like I was flickering the light switch up and down, on and off. And so that's where the lights out dance kind of came from. And I didn't plan it. It was one of those things. I was just pointing at it. At the University of Maryland, we had a big game against Georgia Tech on ESPN. And I knocked out one of the wide receivers. I knocked him clean down and got up. He was dazed, went on to the sideline and went out the game. And I got up just pointing at the light switch. I didn't think nothing of it, and the crowd got louder, and I started to jump up and down. And that's where the lights out dance came from.
I love it. Shawne Merriman on the Out of Bounds show. Okay, now you're all into mixed martial arts, the fight business. Tell us what all you're doing.
Yep, Lights Out Xtreme Fighting is my MMA organization. You look at us as a feeder league to a company like UFC. We've had a couple fighters leave and go to the UFC over the last couple of years. We're on Fubo TV, Fubo Sports. If you guys don't have Fubo, make sure you get it. We got a big fight coming up February 16th. We'll be in Long Beach, California, but you can look at all the information at lightsoutxf.com. And, huge show. This is our biggest card yet. We have the next biggest up-and-coming superstars in the sport. I've been training, been around this sport for 17 years, man. I started it back in 06 with Randy Couture and Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, training with these guys during the off season because I just wanted to get better with my hand-eye coordination, being a better, pass rusher. And I just fell in love with the sport, man, and never left it. So, we're one of the fastest currently growing. We've just had jumps of 90% viewership on Fubo and Bally's and everywhere else, MSG Network. Good. And so it's really been cool, man, to get the fan engagement, the fan reaction to our growth.
Man, that's exciting. Congratulations to you. Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. Shawne Merriman, All-Pro, Pro Bowler with the Chargers, joining us on the Out of Bounds show. All right, Super Bowl's there in a few weeks. You got some plans? You going to a big party? What's happening with the Pro Bowler?
I'll be on Radio Row, that's for sure. Got to obviously push the fight, and we got some more announcements coming up with some distribution all over the world. So that's going to be pretty cool for us. But yeah, man, I think that this is going to be the biggest Super Bowl week. I think in a very long time, if ever, because coming to Vegas, you got to do it right? There's so much opportunity, so many people coming in. So many meetings and media and TV and just everything, man. It's a fun, exciting time leading up, and not to mention, we may have some teams that never been there before, right?
Right.
So, I think Ravens. Obviously, I got the Ravens, but on the other side, I got the Lions, man. I really think that the Lions can pull it off this year. I think the way they've been playing, the city's all behind them, the energy. Dan Campbell got those guys on another level mentally and just their mentality and how they approach the game. So I think we're looking at a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl this year.
Man, I hope the Lions make it. I love Dan Campbell. That guy's a maniac, but a hell of a football coach. That would be cool. All right. Hey, what's your favorite sports book in Vegas?
Man, I would say, I don't know if DraftKings is out here. If DraftKings is cool. Bet Online, man. I just partnered up with the guys over at Bet Online, and we've just been smashing out the park. In fact, Bet Online, I've had one pick wrong this year on my picks, and it's been tremendous. And that was just the Bills game last couple days ago. So that was my first one on Bet Online that was inaccurate. Otherwise, I've been hitting them pretty good.
Love it. All right, you want one question? Jason's going crazy. We'll let him go. Shawne Merriman, All-Pro, Pro Bowler, Chargers on the Out of Bounds show. Now, Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. They've got a huge fight in Long Beach, California, coming up in February. He'll be on Radio Row Super Bowl week, which will be absolutely wild. Jason?
Shawne, you just casually name-dropped two legends in MMA, Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell, and you said that you started training with them during their prime. I got to know, what did that add to your football game, and how was it training with those legends?
So my first day walking in, I was training with Randy Couture, and mind you, Randy is still, I think he just still had a fight the year before, so he's still in peak shape. He's walking around about 205 or so, 210. I'm 265, and I couldn't figure out how in the hell he was throwing me around in the gym when we were pummling. But he was showing me the the leverage and how to get under some of these big offensive linemen, open your hips up, turn the corner. And it just did wonders, man. I came out in 2006, led the ACC, led the NFL in sacks, and for me, it was a game changer because I had the speed, power, explosion, but I wasn't that good with my hands coming out of college. And what MMA did for me was allow me to be more violent, more active with my hands, get those big offensive tackles off of me, and also not get tired, man, because ain't no joke. You know, if somebody's laying on top of you and it's you're in the third or fourth round and you can't get up, I mean, you find a way to get in shape. So, and you see what it's done for other players. Tua, right? We've seen Tua get hurt in the past so many times. What happened this offseason, he picked up jiu-jitsu. You know, he made it through a season this year. So I recommend any former player or current player that's looking to get into MMA to pick it up.
All pro for the now LA, but for the San Diego Chargers. Shawne Merriman on the Out of Bounds show. Lights Out Extreme Fighting, and they've got a big one in February, and he'll be on Radio Row for the Super Bowl. Shawne, thanks so much, man. We appreciate it. Best of luck to you.
You got it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Shawne Merriman, remember watching him play for the Chargers, and they were on a roll for a while. He played with Breeze and Phillip Rivers, and you know, you listen to what he had to say about Drew Brees and Darren Sproles as teammates, two of my favorite players to watch the last, 20 years or so in the NFL. You loved that, didn't you? Getting to watch him, to ask him about working out with some dudes.
Well, yeah, I mean, he mentioned some, like, the beginning legends of the UFC, like guys who really caught it. Chuck Liddell, obviously. That's when everybody heard about the UFC.
Right.
But, I mean, Randy Couture was the oldest champion at the time. He got the belt at like 41, something crazy.
Dang.
And, I mean, just training with those guys. And a lot of athletes have started cross-training with MMA, jiu-jitsu, that sort of
smart.
thing. Yeah, and it's so cool to hear that it helped him with his hands because it makes so much sense.
Yeah, got to spar, man.
Yeah.
In the line of scrimmage.
Incredible.
The show brought to you by the Golden Moon Casino Sportsbook, the Timeout Lounge. Bet $50 there. Play award-winning Dancing Rabbit Golf Club for $30. Bet 50, play 30.